Flavour.
This is Cambridge Radio.
I'm going to read you the menu. It's fantastic.
So we get better flavour because of the fen soil.
I've drunk more beer since I came here and bought my 2 barrels than I've ever done in my life before, I think.
I shouldn't have said almonds. They don't make it from almonds.
So you've got this big sticky mess when you start off.
Pizza, pots, pints.
My wife's cakes are excelling at hot cakes. Brilliant, thank you.
The time is right for this sort of thing.
Food is everything.
Cambridge is right for this sort of thing.
What's it like? Delicious.
Good afternoon and welcome to Flavour, a live show with an hour of local food and drink news and features. I'm Matt Bentman, here with Alan Alder and Sue Bailey. So, let's see what's coming up.
Well, we check out the paninis on the newly refreshed menu at King's Dough.
We learn about Ukrainian food ahead of a big Easter charity lunch in the centre of town.
And we drop in at the Copper Kettle to learn of their history as they close in on a century of their eatery.
And we'll bring you plenty of local foodie news and information, explore what's going on in social media, find free food, and locate some foodie jobs. So, let's begin.
Yeah, I was in town last Sunday morning for the Cambridge Half Marathon. I wasn't running, I was looking for coffee, and I found a new place in the city centre that's nestled in between Aromi and the Arts Theatre. It's called the Shopkeepers Daughter. Now, from the outside, it looks like a plant shop, and it is. But it also does a mean coffee. It's owned by Rebecca Chambers. Here she is now with her colleague Hiran. Yeah, you described your love of coffee in relation to the lockdown in 2020. So when everyone was out panic buying toilet roll and pasta and sugar and so on, coffee was your thing.
Coffee and oat milk. I can rip my T-shirts up if I need to go to the toilet, but there is no substitute for coffee on this earth.
You've been here 6 months?
Yes, yeah. I constantly try and evolve things. So luckily with houseplants, there are so many different species.
Chinese evergreen, Aglianema, string of pearls, tamarind, cacti, begonia, monstera.
With the coffee side of things, we created 2 types of flat white, a barista flat white and a people's flat white. A barista likes a flat white to be in a 6-ounce cup. And lots of people, when they get just a 6-ounce coffee, feel a little bit cheated out of their money. So we thought of the people's flat white, which is an 8-ounce flat white and has a little bit more milk. That is something that you will only find in our shop, and that is kind of what I hope we become known for. Lots of people say Hiran's flat whites are the best in Cambridgeshire. I agree, I'm biased.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's coffee, just every cup of coffee that means something, as cheesy as and corny as it sounds, it does.
It's how we became
friends.
We used to talk about coffee, didn't we?
Yeah, coffee and shoes it was.
Coffee and trainers. And now you like plants, yes?
And now I like plants, yeah. My collection is growing because to see a plant, I mean, I always liked plants, but I couldn't appreciate them. They were just plants to me. But since meeting you, seeing what they meant to you and taking my own back to my house, seeing it blossom, it takes on a new meaning. It's genuinely a wonderful feeling seeing XYZ plant grow. That's how I'm kind of learning along the way as well.
I would just like to add, I never ever make the coffee.
You tried?
I've tried, but
and made me clean up the mess.
Doing milk is hard. It's really, and that is what actually makes or breaks a good coffee. So we've obviously got a great coffee machine that we've had custom sprayed to match the shop, but the actual espresso, the machine does. The real art is the milk.
It was good when you tried it, just the milk went everywhere.
I know.
It's one of those skills where it looks so easy when you're watching coffee shops do it, until you get there, it's like a scary thing. So it's just habit now, but it's an underappreciated skill, but it's lovely to do.
I think the magic word I got from your Instagram account was nurturing.
Nurture is a good word, but if it was a sentence, it would be keeping something alive. My dad had a very rare blood cancer. I looked after him for pretty much most of my adult life, and he died when I was 40. My dad was a shopkeeper. That's why my shop is called the Shopkeepers Daughter, because I always say this shop is a love letter to him. I had no interest in houseplants until my dad died, because for me, I needed to put all that love into something that I could keep alive. Yeah, nurture, but it's a lot more than that. So when you walk into the Shopkeepers Daughter, not only will you smell like amazing coffee.
Every coffee I make, every shot I pull, every time I steam a milk or put a tulip on top of your drink, it's the heart of this business is love and it's creativeness.
That almost sounded like the Police song, wasn't it? Like, every coffee I make.
Don't you dare sing that.
I like this. On your drinks wall, Builder's Tea.
We don't put 3 sugars in it like a builder probably has, but everyone knows what builder's tea is. And it's only £1.20 as well, because there is a limit to how much you can charge for a cup and a tea bag, in my opinion. So our branding on our coffee cups, it kind of tells the story of the shop, really. It's my dad.
Her dad with a cup of coffee.
Little Shirley.
Little Shirley. So Rebecca's always described this shop as a love letter to her dad.
And I'm holding a plant.
In Rebecca's hand on the cup, there is a tiny, tiny love letter. And as you spin the cup to the side, there's a little post box. It's a letter to a loved one. Everything in here genuinely means something, where it's from this to the coffee we make to the plants we sell. It's never just about one single thing. It's just, you look around and it's just full of meaning. And it's not something that's ever lost on me. I say this to Rebecca as regularly as I can. The fact that she's brought me on board, I know what this business means to her dad watching on, to Shirley. It's just, and that's something, and like I say, I've always said to Rebecca, that's the only reason I'll ever need.
You'll obviously see Shirley, our shop dog, in the window.
What breed is Shirley?
Shirley is a Cavapoo. She is a toy poodle Cavapoo, which is why she's so tiny.
People queue up to take Shirley's pictures, crowds of people. We'll be in here and all we're going to hear is, "Oh my God, it's Shirley!" I mean, she's a very, very pretty dog. You're very pretty.
So many students miss their pets when they come here to study. Coming to a shop, a cafe that has a pet can really add a bit of warmth back to a person's day. Whether it's Bear the black cat at the Kingston Arms, Romsey the pig at the Empress pub, although that's probably going back a bit, or Shirley here at the Shopkeepers Daughter. I asked Hiran what were the most popular drinks here.
Oh yes, definitely. So our barista flat white, so our 6-ounce flat white is by far our most popular drink. In second, it's a close run between the latte and the cappuccino. I think the cappuccino just about shades it, but definitely the barista flat white.
The La Marzocca coffee machine. It's coloured a custom green, the kind of green you'd see on a Land Rover Defender.
Yeah, so we wanted something, not only was it's a great machine, so it's certainly not style over substance, but we custom chose a colour from a RAL book to specifically match, of course, the greenery of the plants. We get so many wonderful comments about it, and it's blended in perfectly.
Your nail polish is the same colour as the coffee machine.
Of course it is. Well, I've got to be green-fingered, right?
Yeah.
People come into the shop and they're like, "Oh my God, it's a plant shop," and they're playing hip-hop. But honestly, houseplants love hip-hop. We have 200 varieties of plants in here. Different colours, textures. I do have a plant I love called a Euphorbia lactea, a man-made plant in a way, because they are grafted. So the top looks like a brain, maybe, would you say?
That kind of looks like coral to me.
It does look like coral, yeah. And then that's grafted onto this green base because the top bit that's sort of pretty and pink doesn't have any chlorophyll in it. So it's really hard for the plant to photosynthesize, which is why they are grafted onto something green.
And here's a bit of a suggestive looking plant.
It's called a monkey tail cactus, let's be clean.
The Shopkeeper's Daughter began in St Neots 5 years ago. The Cambridge shop is much bigger.
It's like St Neots on steroids.
Space. Space for bigger plants, more pots, more species, a preparation room. Basically, they've repotted themselves so they can grow.
The location is beautiful. You know, it's 2 huge, like double-fronted windows.
And their old customers haven't forgotten them either.
At least once a day, someone from St Neots comes in, which is such a beautiful thing. It's to see a familiar face, and they're still supporting Rebecca, still supporting us, and they've followed her.
So, if you're in town and you fancy trying a coffee somewhere new, why not check out the Shopkeepers Daughter and try their People's Flat White? You might just come out with green fingers, and hey, that's fine, because...
All you got to do now is spread yourself. I'm expressing with my full capabilities, and now I'm living in correctional facilities.
It's great to see independent shops still popping up in the very centre of town. I can't imagine it's easy, but Hiran, who makes the coffee at the Shopkeeper's Daughter, was saying, well, yeah, they get on so well with the cafes and the eateries around them. And he and Rebecca, they just love so much what they're doing. And this is their second version of the Shopkeeper's Daughter. And yes, Rebecca, that was the cleanest bit of a well-known rap song that I could put in that feature without getting us taken off air at lunchtime. That's the Shopkeeper's Daughter, and it can be found at 7 Peas Hill.
I'm free. I'm free.
Now details of free food available in and around Cambridge. The information about what's available and where to get it comes from the Olio app, which exists so that people's or businesses' surplus food doesn't go to waste.
That's right, and today's look at Olio for Cambridge shows us that Erin in King's Hedges has some long French baguettes with the crusty crust to give away. Likewise, on the bread front, Bababa 7 at Clay Farm in Trumpington has got hot dog rolls, white rolls, a farmhouse loaf, a pack of croissants, and a pack of 8 stone-baked rolls, all available, as well as, count this, 84 loose pastries to give away. And that includes things like, pastries, donuts, cookies, cheese twists, chocolate twists, and so on. Meanwhile, Tom on Campkin Road in King's Hedges has lots of mixed seed baguettes in paper sleeves, as well as a grand rustique loaf, a rye boule and a white boule. And finally, Alison on Cherryhinton Road near the Co-op roundabout has got 5 garlic and herb dips to give away, which will prove ideal for your garlic and herb dipping needs. All these items and plenty more every day in the Olio app.
There's another free app called Too Good To Go, which has unsold food from restaurants, cafes and shops, often at less than half price. And instead of specifying each unsold item, the surplus food is simply put into a magic bag, ready for you to take home to stop it being binned at the end of the day's trading.
Well, on to our first news briefing now, starting with Crow's garlic. In the words of Steve Thompson, the foraging chef, Crow's garlic is everywhere right now, ready for picking from roadsides, meadows and parklands. So Crow's garlic looks like chives and smells like garlic. The stems can be used in salads and pestos, even mixed into butter to make a wild onion butter, whilst the little pea-sized bulbs can go well in the pan with fried bacon.
Did you know there's a pay-as-you-feel cafe in town? It's at St Philip's Church on the Romsey side of Mill Road, and it's open every Wednesday at lunchtime. It's part of their Waste Not Wednesdays, where they take surplus food and make vegetarian meals and desserts. Any profits go towards St Philip's food justice work in Cambridge.
Now here's a heads up for a future event. Fermentable are hosting an all-day wellbeing, nutrition and fermentation festival at Stories Field Centre, with guest speakers including Franco Fubini, Rachel de Temple and Amanda Ryder. So, plenty of panel talks and food workshops. Tickets are £109. It's on Saturday the 16th of May, and you can book via the website fermentable.co.uk.
Here's one for the cheeseaholics. The cheesemonger, who have their shop inside Darry's restaurant on King Street, have recently been talking about their Negroni Cropwell Bishop Stilton. It's got a marbled appearance and a boozy texture containing sweet vermouth, bitter orange and botanical notes, blended together into a rich, creamy Stilton. That's the kind of description that would have made our original producer fly out of the studio and over to King Street.
The Edge Cafe at 351 Mill Road is hosting a spoken word open mic night on the 28th of March. There'll be pre-show food and drinks, and you do get excellent food at the Edge Cafe, so that could make for a very nice evening out. And if you want, you could even get up on stage yourself.
And here are some market dates. The next Gransden's Farmers Market is on Sunday 29th March at Little Gransden Village Hall. And also on the 29th of March is Haslingfield Farmers Market in their Village Hall. Linton Market is on Saturday the 4th of April in Linton Village Hall. And Caxton Farmers Market reopens with their first market day of the year, and that's on Sunday the 12th of April.
Now, we mentioned rhubarb quite a lot in our last episode. That's because we're into rhubarb season, and you can order lovely chunky quantities of it at Bushel Box Farm Shop right now. They're based in Willingham. The shop has been open since the late 80s. Well, I presume not the whole time, they must sleep occasionally. But all of their farm-grown apples, plums, apricots, pears, greengages, and in this case rhubarb, are picked and available on the same day. They make their own jams and marmalades too, so it's really well worth a trip out to Bushelbox Farm Shop in Willingham. Anyway, that's all for now. More news later.
Now, if you fancy eating out somewhere different, why not give this a try? It's called Borscht Time. It's a monthly Ukrainian community lunch held at Downing Place, focused on cultural exchange and fundraising for medical and humanitarian aid in Ukraine, and a chance to try some proper Ukrainian dishes.
Over the past year, these Borscht Time dishes have grown to accommodate 100 guests and 25 volunteers per event, and it regularly sells out. This week, I met with the creator of Borscht Time and one of her main volunteers.
Hi, my name is Stas Makarchuk.
My name is Yarina Yemets.
Раз, два, три.
Welcome to Borscht Time.
Why I love Ukraine? Well, Ukrainian cuisine is great in general. If you ever tried any kind of Eastern European food, you will probably have a hint how it tastes like, quite meaty, or if you don't eat meat, we have really nice dumplings with cherries, for example, or we have mashed potatoes, pancakes. One of my favorite dishes called holubtsi, which is basically pork mince with rice wrapped in cabbage leaves and boiled. It's very rich, very diverse taste and quite fulfilling.
We also prepare some potato pancakes called deruni, very tasty. I need to share, we prepare a lot of desserts.
Well, I'm never going to complain about desserts.
Always
distinctive
taste, it's honey cake, because honey it's really important product in Ukraine. We really like honey. Actually, Ukrainian food, it's simple and difficult in the same time. It's simple with ingredients because it needs to be fresh and, for example, fruits from garden and vegetables on market as well. Herbs, we use a lot of dill, and you need a lot of sour cream because a lot of dishes it's about add some sour cream when you serve it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's sweet stuff or is it savory stuff. You always you add sour cream to borscht, you add sour cream to holubtsi, you add it to dumplings, to pancakes, to potatoes pancakes. Very simple, very popular sauce we use, yes.
And difficult because everything you need to wrap. I don't know why. Holubtsi you need to wrap. Dumplings you need filling. Pies called perishki. You also need to put filling inside. So it's not easy to prepare, you know. I don't know why we do so difficult process, but it's delicious.
Borscht Time attracts lots of volunteers, and Stas has been there since the beginning. The initiative has grown entirely through volunteer effort, without any external funding.
Obviously, each volunteer has its own motivation. So my main motivation is to help Ukraine to win this war with whatever it takes, materials, money, donations. Obviously, there are many ideas which fundraising events we can run, but why I particularly like Borscht Time is because food is one thing which can unite people, especially good food, which we believe Ukrainian food is a good food, is a great food. As we see, the community grows from event to event. It's a very great way to say thank you to this country, which is extremely supportive to Ukrainians. That's what we can do. Yeah.
Borscht and soup are not the same thing?
It's kind of soup, yeah? We prefer called only borscht because it's a special soup for Ukrainians.
It's like the question, like, what was first, chicken or egg? It's the same question. Is like soup, is a borscht or not? On my opinion, it is not, but I cannot prove it logical. So if you think about soup as a broth with vegetables, well, borscht is soup as broth with vegetables, right? But it is so special and so tasty and so good that, it is a separate category for us. It is borscht, it is not soup.
Borscht isn't just one thing. There are so many variations of borscht.
The same dish can have completely different recipes in different regions, right? So borscht have probably hundreds of different recipes all across different regions, and everyone thinks that their recipe is the best and their recipe is the only one correct.
Ingredients.
Most of the products are so simple, Moreover, they're all grown here in the UK. So potatoes, cabbage, carrots, all this stuff, really great here. So we don't have any problems to finding beetroot, stuff like that. Sometimes we need to find some good meat. Or, for example, something really special is what we call salo. This is a pork fat. It's just purely pork fat with only salt. Yeah. And this stuff, unfortunately, you can't find really in the UK. So usually we ask someone to bring from Ukraine and then we cook it here. But I would say 95% of all things that we cook are cooked from local products which were grown in the UK.
Borscht Time is a charity fundraiser, yeah?
Yeah, it is charity fundraiser. So we have supported paramedics. So far we have donated more than £14,000 in 1 year.
Anybody can attend Borscht Time.
Anybody, yes, of course. Our audience may be 50-50 Ukrainians and British, or even more British.
No, definitely more. I would say on the last event, it was probably, we obviously don't know are they British or not. We didn't ask for a passport, right? But I would say the people who are speaking Ukrainian were less than 20%, maybe 20-25% maximum, right? So the rest of people were definitely not Ukrainians. I would say majority of those people were probably British. So we have really now a lot of people from a local community, from Cambridge, who come here, who enjoy it, and they come actually every event. They started to bring more friends and family, and so that's how we see this whole community grows from event to event very significantly.
So, the next Borscht Time is coming up soon.
It will be 11th of April, right?
Yeah.
So it will be just a week after Easter.
And day before Ukrainian Easter. And we prepare, of course, special menu. And we will offer Pascha, it's Ukrainian Easter bread. Also, we prepare spring borscht because we had a lot of good feedbacks from people. They were very surprised. It's simple, but it's really tasty. I hope it will be very, very special.
Do they need to book a ticket?
Yes, we really recommend to do it in advance because the tickets almost always sold out. Interest from local people is huge. Yeah. So if you really want to go, please go to our Eventbrite page, follow our Instagram account, our Facebook page. We always post our information about our next events with the links where you can, book your place.
And the event called Borscht Time.
All our next events will be all you can eat. So one fixed price, you come and you can eat as much as you want. Moreover, we have a discount for students, 50%. So students or children can always come for a half price, which is really a bargain, especially here in the Cambridge Centre, because where you can eat as much as you want for that price. So yeah, we are very welcome. Everyone, and again, because of such great deals, the tickets are limited and the space is limited, so we really recommend you to book tickets in advance.
Yarina and Stas, lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the interview and for giving this opportunity to increase our community and help also Ukrainian to integrate to British community, but also British to learn more about our culture, our food, and just have a bit of love, because every time we come here for our events, there is lots of love, lots of happiness, and lots of hungry but then full people.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to learn about food from other countries.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak to Cambridge audience.
That was Yarinya Yemets and Stas Makarchuk. And just to repeat, the Borscht Time Easter lunch is on Saturday the 11th of April from 3 till 6 p.m. and it's held at 4 Downing Place. You can book your place via the Eventbrite website. Just type in Borscht Time, BORSHCH, and you can also find them on Instagram at Cambridge for Ukraine. That's the number 4.
Coming up after the break, we visit a Neapolitan sandwich bar and one of the longest established eateries in Cambridge. We'll also have more news. Check out what's going on in Cambridge social media for foodies and jobs. Back in a mo.
Cambridge Radio. On Wednesday nights, we bring you highlights from the Cambridge Band Competition.
featuring the best of local new music and raising funds for Strawberry Fair. And this year, our coverage is bigger than ever, with 3 hours from the under 18 and over 18 competitions. Join us at the Portland Arms as bands from across the region compete for a place in the grand final. The Cambridge Band Competition online whenever you want, and Wednesday at 7 on Cambridge Radio.
Start your day with news, travel and conversation in Cambridge Breakfast. Weekdays from 7.
We are Cambridge.
Cambridge Radio.
Well, welcome back to Flavour. This week I went to the city centre to visit Sefa Ate, one of the owners of the Copper Kettle, which has been on King's Parade for, well, coming up for 100 years soon.
We've managed to trace back the history of the Copper Kettle as far as the 1929. Our history goes back 25 years as to when my parents decided to buy what was then a sort of rundown coffee shop where you would collect your tray and go along the side, and there'd be some hot food and you kind of get it on a plate and go and find yourself a table. We then transitioned across to the Copper Kettle today, which is more of a sit-down waiter-served restaurant, serving anything from breakfast through to lunch, tea, coffee, and then evening meals as well. Yeah, it's been a long time with us, and it's definitely part of our family history now for sure.
It was your parents who took it over. Did they find it difficult to start off with, taking over an institution, or did they really recreate an institution, do you think?
My mother and father have been involved in hospitality in Cambridge for longer than the time spent with the Copper Kettle. My father started the restaurant Efes, which is a Turkish restaurant on King Street. It was, prior to being Efes, a fish and chip shop called Mr. Chips, where he used to peel the potatoes and run the fish and chip shop himself. There was an empty shop next door, or a shop that became empty after a few years, and he managed to acquire that shop to when they built sort of half of Efes, and then Mr. Chips then became Efes as we know it today, with two shops merging into one. So that was a venture, and then we stumbled across the Copper Kettle, and I think my father was just in real belief that there was so much more to the Copper Kettle than what it was currently offering, and it was difficult. It needed updating, but there was certainly a few people that would come there who liked it as it was, and maybe were not always keen on change, which is often the way. So we tried to modernise it to an extent without losing any of the history. We have a number of photos and sketches and things like that all dotted around the restaurant that just try to keep sort of one hand on the history of the Copper Kettle and make sure that people are aware that this is not just a cafe in a street, but more of an institution and actually a part of student life, or people that have experienced Cambridge before who come back and they say, I used to come here 40 years ago when I was a student, and I'm so glad it's here. When we hear people say, I'm so glad it's still here, it resonates with us and shows us that there's a lot of places that unfortunately haven't survived.
What about the sort of competition with all the chains? Because, I mean, this is one of the difficulties of an independent, isn't it? That you've got these multinational or national chains sort of nibbling around. I suppose this is where identity is important, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. The identity side of things is what we will always try to promote, because you know, the connection with an institution or a restaurant or a place usually comes from experience or history or memories. We do like to attach ourselves to all of these things. It's difficult. We have to make sure that we are maintaining standards and keeping ourselves on board with everything as much as possible in order to face up to the competition that we do see. And it's sad because the high street is struggling, to be honest, and empty shops usually that would have been taken by independent retailers or businesses are more often than not now finding themselves in the hands of chains, which, whilst it's not a bad thing, it doesn't help the other independent businesses that are still trying to survive. Coffee and the boom of the coffee shop is prevalent right now, and I think it's the competition's never been bigger in that sense. I think there's a couple more that have opened up in Cambridge City Centre, which again is fine. We welcome competition. It makes everyone better, but it definitely makes it difficult if it's direct. You know, we have a street here and we know our neighbours and we get along very well and we enjoy each other. We go to each other's shops sometimes and things like that. So it's a nice street to be on, but we just hope that it doesn't get too affected by kind of the changes and the difficulties that the high street is facing in this current climate.
You've got a Turkish background, a Turkish heritage, so what about Turkish coffee and Turkish dishes? Do you feature those much? What's your sort of menu offering?
Yeah, certainly. So my father is from Turkey, my mother is from England. They met here many years ago, they won't mind me saying, but one of the things my father wanted to integrate into the copper kettle was the Turkish element. It's something that we have integrated. We've chopped and changed menus over the years, of course, but it's always maintained. So Turkish coffee is certainly very popular, something that we do here. On the dessert side of things, we have baklava and other Turkish specialty desserts from time to time that always seem to be very popular. We've placed a Turkish breakfast option alongside sort of your full English breakfast and more traditional things, which is certainly a hit, not only as a breakfast option but also a brunch. So sort of your traditional Turkish sausage grilled with the fried eggs, olives, Mediterranean style sort of cucumbers, tomatoes, bread, cheese, honey, things like that. So that's very popular. And then in the lunch, we do have traditional kebab options. We have sort of a lamb moussaka, which is a Mediterranean dish. We've just tried to test and see what things kind of are popular and maybe not, and some things that have been less popular over the years have kind of come off the menu, and we've integrated other things. So we're always trying new things. We have daily specials. We have seasonal menus that we change going into the summer for sort of fresher, lighter options, and then maybe in the winter, the soups and the more hearty, warm dishes are always more popular when the weather starts to get a bit colder. So yeah, we're always integrating things. We have Turkish chefs as well who are always wanting to kind of try other things as well. So it's definitely part of the menu. Not all of the menu, it's not a fully Turkish menu, but it's definitely a part of it, yes.
Are you thinking of any special 25-year celebrations, or have your parents not got around to thinking about that yet?
I think we've passed 25 years. We did kind of maybe celebrate it between ourselves, but we're probably going into year 26 now. It's a strange one because the hospitality industry is every day. You don't really get an opportunity to stop. There's very little time for reflection. But sometimes I do find myself, sitting in the restaurant sometimes with a coffee and looking up at some of the photos on the wall and seeing myself 12 years ago in one of the photos or 17 years ago, and my parents as well. And then there's newer photos with former staff members and newer photos with new staff members, and you realise that time has passed very quickly. We want to celebrate every year that we're here. Ultimately, another year is another year ticked off, and it means that sooner rather than later we'll kind of sit down and we'll say, oh, we're at 35 now, or maybe if we're allowed to continue. And yeah, that's the reality of the industry, is you reflect very rarely, but when you do, you realise that you've accomplished something quite impressive, and then that's the realisation to say, okay, well, let's keep going and see how far we can take it. And if we get to 2029, maybe that's a 100-year celebration of the Copper Kettle. I think maybe 2029 can be something bigger than more than just us being here, but the whole institute of the Copper Kettle. So
brilliant. Well, I am so glad you're still here, and roll on 2029. Thank you so much.
So, Sefa's father started FS Restaurant on King Street, and the Mr. Chips before that. That's good, isn't it?
It's impressive, actually, what they've achieved. Lovely.
It made me think about cafe names as well, because you know how pubs are often called like the Swan or the Dog and Duck? I wonder what the most popular name is for a cafe, because I feel like the Copper Kettle is really up there. The first cafe I remember going to was called the Copper Kettle in the Black Mountains in Wales. But I found several Copper Kettles. There's one in Exmoor, Yorkshire, Hartlepool, Sheffield, Greenwich, Somerset and Pontypridd. The most popular independent cafe names, though, are Ozone and Faya, which sound a bit rubbish
I don't know.
Nor do I.
But there's some really good names too for a cafe: The Daily Grind, Simplicity, and Espresso Patronum. That's for all the Harry Potter fans out there.
Clever. Anyway, time for a bit more news now. 13 Weeks Tea is a new cafe that opened this year on King Street. Alan went to visit it in one of our February episodes, and they're offering 10% off food and drink for students on Fridays who want to use them as a quiet place to study.
Every week, the Cambridge City Food Bank attempts to offer decent, balanced meals to the most needy. At the moment, they're in need of tinned vegetables to meet their mission, also any tinned fruit, tinned tomatoes, tinned rice puddings, and things like long-life milk and instant coffee would be very helpful too. The most convenient way to donate might be at their donation points in supermarkets around Cambridge, like the big Sainsbury's on Coldham's Lane, Asda at the Beehive, Waitrose in Trumpington, and the big Tesco on Newmarket Road.
Here's another event from the Edge Cafe at the bottom of Mill Road. They're hosting a Ukrainian supper on the 18th of April, prepared by a Ukrainian family who volunteer at the Edge. Tickets are £20 per person and they're likely to go fast. So you can book via their events page on their website, theedgecafe.com.
The Geldart pub on Ainsworth Street has always been a great place to eat, with its fish and chips and its pies and the Hot Rocks menu, where you can select from various unusual meats served on volcanic rocks. Now, we wanted to give the Geldart a quick mention because they're also a really good live music venue, and Ezio will be performing there on Tuesday the 5th of May, which would make for a really great evening out. Ezio are a folk band from Cambridge, and they've been performing for the last 36 years, and you can see them the best way, up close and personal there in the pub. Just head to wegottickets.com and type in the Geldart. Ticket prices are £13.20.
The next Petersfield Supper Club, Petersfield Pub in Sturton Street, is on the 25th of March with 5 courses of Indian cuisine for £35. And the April one is titled The Best of British Supper. That's on the 29th of April. And you can book your table for either via their website, thepetersfield.co.uk.
There's a new Turkish Mediterranean kitchen and cocktail bar called Limora Kitchen, and that's opening soon in Checker Lane in Ely.
The Olive Grove is a Greek restaurant in Delhi and Regent Street. It has new dishes on the menu: fasolata bean soup, which is a staple winter dish, beef cocchinisto, which is a deep red beef stew simmered in tomato and red wine, orzo pasta with feta cheese mousse, and the launch of the Dubai chocolate pianirli pizza.
Oh, well pronounced.
I hope so.
Congratulations to the Food Museum in Stowmarket. Their school dinners exhibition has been shortlisted in the Museum and Heritage Awards Temporary Exhibition of the Year. And as it says on their website, semolina, sponge pudding and custard, turkey twizzlers, what are your memories of school food? Explore past, present and future school dinners at the Food Museum, which is Britain's only food museum, and their website has got all the details.
And finally, if you like cats and coffee, we've a brief update on Catte Latte, which is due to open on the Romsey side of Mill Road. It was supposed to open early in the year, however work is still going on, so now it's scheduled to open at the end of March. And you'll be able to sit down and have coffee surrounded by cats, who may or may not also be drinking coffee. Well, that's the news for now. More later.
The first panuzzo in Cambridge. That's the claim of King's Dough, an Italian panini restaurant in King Street. With their recently refreshed menu, you're about to hear words like panuzzo and aperitivo. I caught up with the owner, Stefano Carotenuto, who took an interesting path on the way to opening his business.
Yeah, when I moved to Cambridge, I couldn't even speak a word of English. So I started as bartender. I moved to Zizi as a supervisor. Don't ask me how. I learned everything I could, all the way up to general manager. I worked a year for NatWest as a personal banker. After that, I worked for the NHS as a project manager. And then one day, Marco, my business partner, came to me saying, I found this place in the city centre. Shall we start this business? That's my story. So basically, King's Dough is me and Marco, my business partner. He's a pizza chef, but, we didn't want to make pizza. We wanted to bring something new, something different. So we still make the dough, just a different shape. So we make as a panini, a long shape, to bring a little bit of Italy to Cambridge, UK market, Italian ingredients like cured meats, panini.
Panini?
For Italian kids, panini. We have panini for breakfast, for a snack, for lunch, dinner. All over the south of Italy, you can find good panini places everywhere. So that's what King's Dough is.
What you said there sounds so much like the story of the panuzzi. I said that right? Yeah. Because that was created as an alternative to pizza. The man who created it back in 1983, he wanted to do something else other than pizza.
That's how we call it in Naples, especially in Naples. Pizza chef tired of eating pizza every day. They just took the same dough ball they used for pizza, made a sandwich like a long shaped panini. That's the idea. That's what we trying to create with King's Dough. Let's say we have two kind of Napolitan pizza. That's one bigger and thinner called ruota di carro. It means like a cart wheel. And then we got a smaller pizza with a thicker crust. And that's modern Napolitan pizza. It's cooked at high temperature in the oven in like 60 seconds.
This reminded me a lot of two Italian guys and their pizza van called Neapolitan Street Food, who we featured back in 2018. It turns out that Stefano is good friends with those guys, and he worked as their manager at Al Pomodoro on Hills Road for a year. It's the high-temperature oven and the sourdough flour that gives Neapolitan pizzas that certain something.
Here at King's Dough, we use like different kind of flours, and that's what gives our panini the texture. Also, we have this process where we cook the panini halfway through, cool them down.
The double baking process.
And once we need to serve them, we open, fill them with ingredients, cook them.
Melt that beautiful cheese and make the bread nice and crispy again.
The final result is crunchy outside, soft inside, which is what makes us different from all the other panini in the market at the moment.
Do you eat a lot of them?
Yeah, of course, sometimes lunch and dinner. We try to buy all the ingredients from Italy. We make everything fresh here in-house every day. Like we have a panuzzo called bolognese. It's made with pulled beef brisket. We cook it for 7-8 hours. So we buy the meat, Italian tomato sauce, we cook in-house and try to keep everything fresh every day. Some authentic Napolitan ingredients like mozzarella, fior di latte, mozzarella or smoked provola cheese. We make meatballs like nonna. In fact, one of our panuzzi is called nonna. It's made with meatballs. It's the recipe that our grandmothers used.
You can order the nonna, which translates as grandmother, I think, and everything else both in-store and online. The nonna panuzzi has those meatballs in a bolognese sauce with mozzarella and parmesan shavings. I asked Stefano to describe a few of the other panuzzi on the menu.
One of our panuzzi is called mortadella and pistachio. It's made with Italian authentic mortadella. That's a pistachio cream that we make here in-house. With buffalo stracciatella, this is another ingredient, authentic Italian. It's like a creamy cheese. Crumbled pistachio on top to make it a little bit more crunchy.
Pistachio cream and crumbled pistachio on top. I think the kids would describe that as peak panuzzi. And here's another one.
The zucca piccante is another panuzzo that we make. I think it's a little bit undervalued because it's really good. It mixes the sweetness of the butternut squash, the spiciness of the induja, the soury of the pancetta. It involves all different flavors that you can find in a good dish.
Stefano makes a bold statement in one of his Instagram videos where he says, "Hey, if you don't like it, you don't pay."
Yeah, I got a bachelor degree in business economics, so I've always been interested in marketing. I read so many books, I study in my own time. That's what I like. I always read there's something called risk reversal. If you're sure about your product, you should give customers like a sort of warranty. You just take off the risk of customers' back to make them try. And nobody so far has asked for a refund.
King's Dough has a lunch menu for students because quite a large portion of their customers are students. And if you're a regular of Cambridge Italian eateries, you may remember that Clown's Cafe on King Street and Maurizio's on Mill Road offered aperitivo, that cultural ritual of drinks and light bites to warm up your palate and your stomach. Well, Clown's and Maurizio's may be gone, but now you can get your aperitivo fix here.
We offer like an aperitivo with an Italian boat or Italian products, cured meats, small bruschetta, some olives, paired with 2 cocktails or beers. Good food, good drinks, and the sun when possible.
Ah, the sun. Because King's Dough is fortunate enough to catch the afternoon and evening rays on King Street with its outdoor seating. So you can have aperitivo in style, imagining those sun-soaked Italian evenings with a beer and a panuzzi. An aperitivo used to be for a set time, but now it's available anytime.
Last summer we used to do just for a few hours in the afternoon, but since we launched the new menu, it's available every day, all day long.
Sometimes when a foreign eatery sets up shop, it modifies its dishes for the British palate. The most famous example I can think of is chicken korma. It's for the Brits, you know. You won't find it in India. Well, as far as I know. Are there concessions with Italian food too?
Here at King's Door, we're trying to keep things authentic. Like one of the new additions in our menu is the panuzzo carbonara. You know, so many restaurants, even so-called Italian, they try to adapt the carbonara recipe to the English palate. For example, double cream or mushroom. This is not something we are doing here at King's Door. We try to keep everything authentic, original recipes, let's say.
And a good Epicurean has got to stand behind his product.
I love all of them. I've tried them all. I'm the first tester when a new panini, a new panuzzo is coming out. Bestseller, you know, like the chicken one, the Milanese or the Bolognese I mentioned before, with beef brisket, but also the meatballs, Parma ham. There's so many good that you should try. We're just Italian guys that are trying to make in the English market.
King's Dough is at 13 King Street. Lots of new businesses on King Street, actually, especially in the last couple of years, like Stefano and King's Dough. We've also got the Cherry Pit, the 13 Weeks Tea, and the recent reopening of the St. Radigan pub. You can buy big and small versions of each panuzzo. There's over 15 fillings. They also do vegetarian and vegan Neapolitan panuzzi as well. King's Dough is open till 8 p.m. during the week, 9 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, and 5 p.m. on Sundays because, well, Cambridge tends to go to sleep on Sunday evenings.
Right, we begin our final news roundup now with some sad news, the closing of Barbarella Cafe in Chesterton High Street. Barbarella began almost 6 years ago in what used to be a long-standing barber's shop, so they called themselves Barbarella, and kept the swirly barber's pole over the wall ever since. Barbarella's will be open serving coffee and cake until Sunday the 29th of March, and after that you can find their goods at their sister site, the Linton Kitchen.
Ely Museum is holding a craft beer evening where 3 Cambridge breweries will exhibit their wares, so you can try some new beers and meet the brewers who make them. There'll be live folk music, you can visit the galleries and the Who Brewed Beer exhibition, highlighting over 1,000 years of brewing history in Ely. And that's on the 27th of March from 7 to 9 p.m. Tickets are £20 and that includes 4 half pints of local beer.
Do you fancy a pub crawl without the legwork? If you purchase tickets for the Bermuda Triangle, you'll be driven around different venues in a classic Bedford Val bus, stopping off for an hour or two at each one to sup on a range of exclusive beers, and that's without the hassle of public transport. And you can visit all 3 venues as many times as you like. The Bermuda Triangle is on Saturday the 4th of April, and you can book tickets via the Northstowe Tap and Social website.
Frank's Farm in Ellsworth is a big site full of food shops in converted farm buildings. They do lots of events, they do lots of courses, and they are hosting an Easter lunch with a choice of Sunday roasts, including roast beef, of course, roast pork, roast lamb, and butternut squash Wellington as your main, along with desserts like stem ginger toffee pudding and spiced carrot cake. You can choose from 2 or 3 courses. All the food is fresh, all the food is local and sustainable too. The Easter lunch is on the 5th of April, and to book your place, just email tables@franks.farm. And that is all our news for today. There's the music signalling time for news from social media, and a reminder that you can find Flavour on Instagram. We are at FlavorCam. And you can also contact us by email, flavour@cambridge.radio.
Calverley's Brewery has a music, conversation and friendly games of chess evening on the 25th of March. Also on the 25th of March, Checkers in Falmere has a Chardonnay masterclass with 6 wines and a guided tasting with Charlie from Cornies and Barrow. Email checkersfalmere@gmail to book. The Yard near Ely's next wine tasting has been moved to the 28th of March, which is a Saturday. It includes a 3-course meal, 7 wines and a sommelier to talk about the wines. looking ahead, the 13th of June, Flourish has a soil regeneration expert running a workshop which includes creating live cultures, compost inoculants and biofertilizers. Right, that's the news from social media. Right, we've got the feast from The Guardian today, which we'll look at in a minute with Sue. But before we do, today's Guardian came with The Guardian Food Quarterly, which is a rather nice bound magazine full of food articles. There are recipes in it, but quite a lot of longer pieces of writing from some of The Guardian's favourites like Rachel Roddy, and some really interesting interviews like with Angela Hartnett, full of good sort of cooking advice as well. A section on knives. You're interested in good knives, Sue?
Yes. The most expensive one, £235 for one knife.
Oh, right. Well, it's Mother's Day soon. So.
No. I'll go for the £20 one, possibly.
Anyway, there's a lot to read in there if you've got the time. On to Feast magazine. Sue, anything you've picked out that you fancy?
Yes, well, I love chickpeas, so there's some interesting recipes by Joe Woodhouse, who's got two lovely chickpea-based sauces, which I think I'm going to try. And then there was something, how to use tempeh. I have tempeh in my fridge, but I haven't been using it recently, so there's some good recipes there. Pearl barley, pea and tempeh coconut curry. I've got the peas, I've got the pearl barley, I've got the coconut curry, I've got the tempeh. What am I waiting for?
All round to yours then.
I know. And then a winter gado-gado, which is an Indonesian salad. And I've made it before, but...
Oh, I don't know that.
I think I need to make it again.
I think you do.
Yeah, I will indeed. What about you, Alan? What have you found?
What do I fancy? Oh, I don't know, really. I know that you mentioned this before when we were looking through, but the peanut and jam thumbprint cookies look jolly nice. There's also a thing from Tom Hunt, who's a regular contributor, about how not to waste bread and you can make bread and butter pudding. When we were on holiday in Italy last week, I chose a restaurant, really, really quite expensive restaurant, partly on the basis that it did this bread and butter pudding. So we had our start, we had our main meal, and we ordered the bread and butter pudding, only to told it was no longer on the menu.
So, dearie me, will you have to make your own then?
It's a fortune, anyway. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, some good things. Rachel Roddy, aubergine, potato and herb tortino alla florentina. Looks fantastic to me.
Oh, it looks a bit like a tortilla, doesn't it? But an Italian version.
Yeah.
That does look nice.
So, some good things.
Yeah, excellent.
Anything else in there, Sue?
About chopping boards, which is the best? Wood, plastic or titanium chopping board? And as somebody said in there, the idea of a knife sliding squeakily over titanium sounds absolutely awful.
And would blunt the knife.
And it might be titanium.
And if you spent £211 on it, then you're not going to be pleased, are you?
Well, I was very pleased to see the fact that my collection of wooden chopping boards is validated. So, I should just carry on using them.
The filter in Feast, again by Tom Hunt, has a review of frozen peas. That's not a job I'd like to have, actually. I would have thought one frozen pea tastes much like another. But some are apparently poor. So if you're interested in frozen peas, the best overall is Marks & Spencer's British Garden Peas, which has 4 stars. But then so does the Co-op British Garden Peas and Sainsbury's British Garden Peas.
Fair enough.
And Essential Waitrose Garden Peas and Asda's Garden Peas. There's obviously not a lot of difference between these packets of peas.
Similar pea producers, probably.
Yes, maybe. But there is one that only gets 1 sar. We won't mention them out of kindness.
Oh dear, we won't shame them.
An act of kindness.
Shaming.
Maybe it's a case of war and peas.
Ooh, bad one.
Green Onions announcing our jobs section, and this time around it's Stir, who were voted Best Cafe in last year's Cambridge Edition People's Choice Awards. Now Stir are looking for chefs, trainee bakers, front of house staff, kitchen porters and baristas. Some of these are full-time and some of these are part-time positions spread across Stir's different locations, which includes Chesterton, Histon, Cherry Hinton Road, the Biomedical Campus and Marvin's Sandwiches on Green Street. And of course we've got a new Marvin's Sandwiches about to open on Mill Road where Maurizio's used to be. So that's several options for you. If you'd like to apply for any of those, just go to the careers page on their website, yourstir.co.uk.
Eclipse Bakery is looking for a cake baker and a pastry chef because it's enlarging its team.
And finally, Cambridge Sustainable Food are looking for freelance chefs to work on an ad hoc basis. And if you're interested, just email your CV to catering@cambridgesustainablefood.org.
All of which brings us to the end of today's programme. You can catch Flavour on alternate Saturdays at 12 noon. We're repeated Sunday at 1, Mondays at 2 and Tuesdays at 6. And the programme will also be available as a podcast early next week.
Coming up on Cambridge Radio today at 1 o'clock is Christine Schneider with music, news and discussion. At 2 o'clock it's Sue Marchant's selection, but that's all from us. We'll be back on the 4th of April with lots more food and drink news, jobs and features. So until then, thanks for listening and
goodbye.